It's 25 minutes to 8.
Thanks, Paul. Well, the National Party leader Simon Bridges says Shane Jones has crossed the line by threatening the leaders of Air New Zealand over the axing of regional services. This despite one of his own MPs, Nathan Guy, weighing in. Mr Guy told a public rally against the cut Air New Zealand had been planning in Kapiti had been hypocritical to hold an open day and then abruptly can Paraparaumu flights. Simon Bridges is in our Auckland studio. Good morning.
Morning, Todd.
So, Nathan Guy beating the drum. Should Air New Zealand not have pulled out of Kapiti?
I think, to be really clear, it's not the issue that Shane Jones has got wrong. I mean, I won't go through it, but I can run you through what I did as Transport Minister with Air New Zealand.
So you're not saying that they shouldn't be pulling these flights out?
Correct. I mean, I think actually if you look at Kapiti, it's got a huge amount of sympathy. Air connectivity into the region is hugely important. But it's just as you said, there's a line. And I think to call for, certainly the chair, but arguably on one interpretation, the board and the chief executive to resign is far too far. It's bullying, bad behaviour we haven't seen in New Zealand typically.
So does the government as majority shareholder have no way of influencing those sort of decisions by the airline?
Well, I think you can do these things behind private doors. You can outline your concerns. In my case, when I was Transport Minister, I think what we effectively brokered was, as they were withdrawing from one or two areas, maximum cooperation with the new airlines. I think it was Sounds and Chatham's going in to make sure they worked. And that happened. But, you know, you've got two things here. I think by doing that, there's the broader business confidence issue, which Shane really affects with these sort of comments about a publicly listed company. I think there's the wider government issue. This guy has collective responsibility as a cabinet minister. Now, call me old-fashioned, but he got upbraided by the Prime Minister and then he doubled down on it. This is just... I think quite simply remarkable and shows a rift in the government and a Prime Minister who's not controlling, forget an NZ First MP.
Well, he got ticked off. So
a cabinet minister.
Yeah, he's been ticked off. But
he doubled down after that.
Yeah. Is there an argument to say that the government should be providing economic development subsidies for those areas where regional services might be endangered?
I wouldn't agree with that. But I certainly accept the issue as an important one. If you're Kapiti, and if you, as you say, quite rightly, Nathan Guy, the local national MP there, feels very strongly about it, and other parts of New Zealand as well. But as with so many things about this government, it's the way you do it. And for a cabinet minister, a senior one at that, to be calling for resignations is very bad for our business confidence. Some would argue actually our sovereign risk profile. But more than that, I think it shows a rift and a Prime Minister who can't control senior ministers.
Let's go to another cabinet minister. Yesterday, only 6 months in office, and the government has unveiled the biggest single housing development in the country. Does that not make you reflect on what happened in the previous 9 years?
Look, I think it's good. But what I don't
So why
like,
didn't it happen before?
Well, what I don't like here is the spin. I mean, this is a rebranding, re-announcement of what we were doing, and there's no new houses that come out of this.
But you didn't have a deal to buy the land. The difference is, the critical difference is the government is buying the land to have the houses built.
All of, as I understand it, the planning, the investment plans were signed off out by our government. In terms of the council, the Auckland housing plan that allows for this was by our government.
But it would have been left for the market to deliver as the market felt fit.
And that's the point. So effectively, on my argument to you is this is a rebranding. But I think on that point, that's a crucial point. What you're effectively seeing with KiwiBuild is not new things that weren't going to happen, but effectively a crowding out of the market where the government comes in over the top, pays more for the same.
But the certainty isn't there. I mean, what if there was a downturn and the market said, no, we're not going there for a decade?
Well, my basic argument would be this. What is Phil Twyford doing in terms of his really high-blown rhetoric around KiwiBuild that will deliver more than was already going to be delivered? At the moment, we're just not seeing it.
They're delivering here 3,000 to 4,000 over a decade. We don't know what would have happened if they hadn't done that, do we?
There's a huge amount of uncertainty about that. I think at the moment what you've got is a plan to have a plan. I come back to it. I think effectively all that's happened to date is a re-announcement of what we were doing anyway. But look, on the KiwiBuild, which is their flagship policy, not a single new house yet, effectively just putting it over the top of what was already happening. What will happen to make sure there's new houses? I don't see a plan there.
But But your government wouldn't have done this deal, wouldn't have bought the land to build houses.
Yeah, but isn't that perfect? This was going to happen anyway.
But we don't know when, do we?
We'd done the investment plan, we'd signed that off. The Auckland housing plan had this there. It was happening. And so, yep, you can say, well, they've moved it from one government department to another with, quote, KiwiBuild. But I don't see KiwiBuild doing anything that wouldn't have happened. It's not a real answer to problems. It's spin and marketing.
Judith Collins has criticised the numbers and talking about how many per hectare, but this is not quarter acre paradise. This is apartments. This is terrace housing. How is there uncertainty about getting those numbers in there?
No, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, you mentioned uncertainty. Well, Phil Twyford's best estimate, I think even this he's hazy on, is that 3,000 to 4,000. Well, there's a world of difference between that. I think the reality of what the government announced yesterday is some rebranding, and I come back to it, it's a plan to have a plan. I don't think we can, till we see the detail, have any certainty about exactly what is happening in terms of those units, townhouses and the like.
Can it be done at the price levels they're talking about? I mean, you can buy nice townhouses under 600 in that wider area already.
Look, you'd hope so, and that's certainly what he is saying. I think then you get into complex issues around, will they just be sold on, or what will be the penalties there? And again, this is an area where Phil Twyford has absolutely no detail. But, at the moment, I think what you're seeing broadly in housing is all of the things we were doing rebranded. I don't yet see the genuine KiwiBuild that Phil Twyford is talking about. My question to him is, what's he going to do to get us actual more houses than were already being delivered?
Simon Bridges, National Party leader, thanks for joining us in the studio this morning. It's 18 minutes to 8.
Residents in West Otago are worried they may soon be without an after-hours emergency service, leaving the community vulnerable. Staff at West Otago Health, a medical centre in Tapanui, have been told the service might have to be shut due to lack of funding. And while the Southern District Health Board denies making any